This is Dan Dicks here reporting for Press for Truth. A Canadian politician's car was set on fire just days after speaking out against church arsons. A former British Columbia Conservative candidate, Gwen O'Mahony, says her car was deliberately set on fire just days after she gave an interview condemning church burnings across Canada. So for context, guys, let's take this back to June of 2021. When a whole bunch of articles like this one were coming out talking about 215 innocent children. The remains of 215 innocent children were found in unmarked graves on the former site of the Kamloops Indian Residential School. The only problem, guys, is this is not true. This is fake news. No children were found. Nobody was found. Not a single body or bone has been found to this day. I tried to raise the alarm about that back then in June of 2021 with this video, The Truth About the Residential Schools Mass Graves. It wasn't genocide, and it just amplifies the war on Christianity. And then sure enough, guys, just a few days later, on Canada Day in 2021, I went around on the streets of Vancouver interviewing people, asking them about the church burnings as a response to the residential school situation, and 90% of the people that I interviewed that day were in favor of the church burnings. These are the people who want the churches to burn. And then just a couple weeks after that, guys, a total slap in the face to the churches that were facing arson. Trudeau decided he was going to host a Islamophobia summit. So I had to point out Christphobia is the real problem here, guys. So now we have this situation with this BC conservative who just gave an interview with Drea from Rebel News condemning church burnings. And shortly after the interview, as she says here, my car was deliberately set on fire just after my interview on church arsons aired. The RCMP are investigating this as an act of arson. This is John Rustad. He's the leader of the Conservative Party of BC. He says, I'm so deeply angered to hear about this arson attack. Thank you for the work you've done to highlight hate crimes that occurred against Christians when churches were burned down all across BC and Canada. I'm proud of the BC Conservatives like Gwen who refuse to be intimidated. And indeed, these intimidation tactics are being stepped up quite a bit, guys. There's crazy video out now of this knife-wielding suspect who attacked a priest on stage during a church service. This happened in Winnipeg, Canada, just a few days ago. Look at this video. This guy rushes up on stage with the knife. He tries to stab the priest, and then he sticks the knife right into the table and walks off. Again, that just happened on February 10th here in Canada. So things are getting pretty wild, to say the least, ladies and gentlemen. So today we're going to talk about all of this and much, much more in this video. But really quickly, just before we do, guys, I'd ask that you check me out here at subscribestar.com/pressfortruth if you do appreciate my efforts to bring you this info. Guys, here you can sign up for $5, $10, $20 a month. Whatever is within your means is very greatly appreciated, guys. I can't continue to do this work without support that comes directly from you guys, the viewers. So one of the best ways of doing that is by clicking that top link in the description below, subscribe star, and sign up here for a monthly recurring contribution. Thank you so much to anybody who takes just a few minutes today to contribute in that way. Again, you can check that top link in the description below. All right, guys, let me start with this. Check out this Google AI overview of when you search Every Child Matters 215. Every Child Matters is a phrase used in response to the discovery of unmarked graves of 215 Indigenous children at a former residential school in Kamloops, British Columbia. No, Google, you've got that completely wrong. Again, not a single drop of blood, not a bone, not a hair, not a body has been found to this day. They try to say this like it's fact. In May of 2021, The First Nations announced the discovery of mass graves. No, they didn't. There was ground-penetrating radar that thought it detected something like that, but even the person who came up with that test said they're going to have to do excavations to verify any of this. What happened since? Well, the Canadian flag was lowered to half-mast for months, and guess what? That's the kind of stuff that caused a lot of people to want to go out into the streets and start burning down churches in response to this stuff. And, you know, as I've pointed out, you know, many times, and as you see here, there was 112 churches that were vandalized or burned since the residential school announcement. There's an interactive map here that shows you all the church burnings that have been going on since. Orange Shirt Day became a national day of remembrance and reconciliation. Yeah, more like it became an opportunity to pump propaganda down the throats of young children in school, many of whom were bullied, I heard, for simply not wearing an orange shirt and going along with all of this nonsense. What else? They had governments committing millions of dollars to search for former residential school sites. Yeah, and guess what? Everything came up empty. Unmarked mass graves investigation comes up empty. No criminal activity has been found. Gee, surprise, surprise. And then the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada released its final report. Well, guess what the final report said? They just disappeared. The final report on residential school children claims after finding no bodies. It goes on and on and on, guys. It's like I just had to point out maybe a couple weeks now ago on Twitter. What a scam. Millions in federal funds to recover suspected Indian children's graves in BC went elsewhere. This is according to a report out of the Toronto Sun recently. Again, proving everything I've been saying. And I'll remind you guys, all of this is the kind of stuff that led to the people like in this interview being fully in favor of church burnings. So here you have an MLA, a member of the Legislative Assembly, speaking out against church, arsons, and she has her car firebombed for doing so. Absolutely insane, guys. British Columbia, just days after condemning a slew of church burnings that have occurred across Canada in recent years, a British Columbian politician's car was set ablaze in a seeming act of arson. On February 11th, former BC member of Legislative Assembly Gwen O'Mahony said she received a call from the RCMP that her car had been deliberately set on fire. Just days after she condemned the growing number of church burnings in the nation since 2021, O'Mahony served as an MLA for the left-wing NDP party, then switched parties to run for the candidates for the BC Conservatives. My car was deliberately set on fire just after my interview on church arsons aired, she posted on X. The arsonist had reportedly stacked wood under the back of her car and then set it on fire. Her neighbors ended up calling 911. This was deliberate. There's no way it was an accident. As soon as I walked down there, the RCMP looked at me and says, "Do you have any enemies?" I said, "Well, I am a BC Conservative, so I imagine I have a few." The alleged arson attack came just days after O'Mahony was interviewed by Rebel News regarding her views on the recent church burnings in Canada. During the interview, she condemned the 33 church burnings across Canada as anti-Christian hate crimes. Later, she pointed out that the anti-Christian hate is rampant on social media, with users saying things that they would never post if, let's say, for example, they were talking about Islam or Sikhism. And again, like, guys, if you missed my video on this one, Islamophobia Summit is a slap in the face to the churches facing arson. Christphobia is the real problem. That's what truly gets to the crux of the issue. So I'll put links to all of this stuff in the description below, guys. But indeed, beginning in 2021, the mainstream media ran with the unproven claim that hundreds of children were buried and disregarded by Catholic priests and nuns who ran some of the residential schools, which were once mandated by the federal government. Since then, over 100 churches have been burned or vandalized across Canada in seeming retribution. And this poor lady has just had her car firebombed and, set on fire for speaking out against this. I hate to say I told you so, guys, but I was right. The truth about the residential schools mass graves wasn't genocide, and it's just amplifying the war on Christianity. In fact, you had the Pope's apology perpetuating this mass grave and genocide hoax. The Pope apologized for something he didn't do, and also for something that hasn't even proven to be true. In this video, Dan Dicks of Press for Truth covers the Pope's visit to Canada, where he is perpetuating the lie about the so-called residential schools genocide. And now it's literally leading to members of the government having their cars firebombed just for speaking out against churches being burned. Again, check out this interactive map if you want. I'll put links, again, all this in the description below, at all the churches that have been vandalized or burned. You should also check out this the video, like, where I interviewed these people on the streets, and to my shock and horror, pretty much all of them were like, yeah, man, burn the churches down for what they did. It's absolutely insane, guys. So just wanted to bring this one to your attention. This is pretty crazy. This is something I'm going to continue to pay attention to. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention, guys. Once again, if you do appreciate my efforts to do so, don't forget to check me out here at subscribestar.com/pressfortruth. You can check that top link in the description below. That's all for today, guys. Once again, I want to thank you so much for watching. Please click the thumbs up button, share this video, and stay tuned. We're going to have more video reports coming soon. This is Dan Dicks reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.